Thank you for being part of my interview today.
You're welcome.
Could you tell us your name, where you're from, and your age?
Yes, my name is Jim Ellison. I'm from Leroy, New York, USA. I'm 68 years old today, or 68 years young.
And is it okay if we record our interview and put some of it on my website?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. What languages do you speak?
I speak English and a smattering of French, German, Italian, and Spanish.
Just smattering a little bit.
Yes, it does.
Good to know. What can you tell us about what life was like before the end of the Soviet Union and how did it change after?
Okay, well, in my early days in the United States Navy, I remember the Soviet Union as being the evil empire. And there were incidents where Russian ships would actually train their guns and missile launchers on American Navy ships, which was very provocative, but luckily did not end up in a war.
What does provocative mean?
Provocative means it was a dangerous situation and it was likely to provoke a violent reaction.
Okay. How is the end of the Soviet Union talked about in your family?
Well, we noted the end of the Soviet Union and the evil empire, as President Reagan called them, as a positive effect on the world in general, and an improvement in the situation for the Russian people.
What does improvement mean?
Well, improvement means their life changed. They weren't oppressed as much as we thought. We didn't know for sure, but we thought they were more free to do their own things and to be less under the thumb of the government.
Okay. How is the end of the Soviet Union talked about in school?
Well, actually, the end came after I was out of school, but I assumed that history was taught in that it was a large change of life for the government and the Russian people themselves.
All right.
So how was the Soviet Union then talked about when you were in school, because it was still going strong?
Yeah, and what is the evil empire? I mean, that term wasn't coined until President Reagan used it in 1983, but I remember that learning about the history of the end of World War II even, where, Stalin and General Patton became enemies even right after the end of the war was over and Germany was defeated. And the Soviet Union was pushing forward into Eastern Europe, setting up the Iron Curtain, gobbling up more territory and oppressing more people.
All right. Was there any part of your life where you heard about it or talked about it?
Yes, many times. As I mentioned before, when I was in the Navy, there was a problem with them being perceived as the enemy and them being provocative, as I mentioned before.
What does provocative mean, or did I already ask that?
You did, but I'll tell you again. It means taking actions that are likely to result in violent reactions.
All right. Do you think this event is still important today? Why or why not?
I think it is. I think it is still important today for the Russian people to recognize that they had a change for the better when the Soviet Union was dissolved, and they need to think about how they might be able to get back to those days even now, because the Soviet Union was dubbed itself as communism, which means everybody owns everything in a very simple definition. But in reality, it was totalitarianism, which meant that dictators controlled everyone's life. And unfortunately, that's pretty much how it is today under Putin with the current Russian government.
Okay. Thank you for being part of my interview today.
You're welcome, granddaughter, anytime.